Welcome to the show with Mike. Garrett is here. I'll get to you in 1 second. Garrett, hello. 3G is here. Gregg Henson. Hello, Greg.
Hey guys, how are you, man?
I'm doing okay. I've been less depressed before. I'll be honest. After that game, we'll get into the football stuff. I'm interested to get your take on it, just with your background and whatnot. I'm really excited to have you on today. Kind of maybe do a final on the Tigers and the Lions yesterday. The story on Tim Walz that is all over Twitter is cracking me up, and I'll read that to people. We can decide for ourselves if there's any truth to it, but we can get into that. I did want to, before we get to all that, Greg, I Woke Bay there, Garrett, you went and saw Newberg at the theater over the weekend?
Yeah, on Friday.
How was that?
Wonderful. Everybody was really funny, and it's so nice meeting all the fans, actually.
Yeah, did you get to meet a lot of people, a lot of listeners?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember names. Sorry, I'm terrible.
You don't need to do that.
No. I'm just saying shout out to, Angie, Lynn. I met Gary the Dead Body Expert, who last time I spoke about him, I told him to go fuck himself over the power hotline. So he reminded me. He's like, hey, I think you told me to go fuck myself, and I told him I stand by that, probably.
Yeah, that's fine. Gary can take it. I've met him before.
He's a listener. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think he's a Lake Orion resident, if I'm not mistaken. So
awesome.
No, that's cool. People were sending me pictures from it. I'm sure Newberg was great.
Yeah, getting to meet Newberg was awesome. Shake his hand for once, face to face.
Did people get to meet your hot mom?
Yeah, a lot of people were happy to meet the hot mom.
Good.
Right on. Hot. Good. Is she a lesbian or she's straight?
She's straight.
Yeah, she had a gay kid. That doesn't make her gay.
I know.
So, I know. I'm just asking.
Yeah.
I mean, my dad. We don't know about my dad yet. It's could be a long thing, but
somebody was doing something gay to make it gay, right?
Yeah, right. I mean, gays are created, right? They're
born like this, right?
Yeah, 2 gay parents have gay kids. Duh.
It's a recessive trait. Come on,
double negative.
Yeah, and they never even tried to ungay you by sending you to conversion school or any of that stuff.
No, I mean, I went to Catholic church as a kid, and that probably just worsened it.
Yeah,
they ever give you electroshock therapy?
Nothing.
No, nothing.
Did your parents not even like you, Garrett? What's wrong with them?
They called me faggot a lot. I just leaned into it.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad you had a good time at the show. I gave you strict instructions to be nice to everybody if you meet people.
I was on my best behavior.
What you learn when you meet listeners is, and Greg, you can attest to this, is that they can be talky at times, and you be as you're going to meet all walks of life when you go to an event and you run into listeners. And we all run in very small circles of humanity, people we surround ourselves with, until you do a promotion somewhere and you realize, oh, fuck, the world is full of people that are totally not what we all think of as in our own circles. You know what I mean?
I ran into one of our viewers and listeners from this show at the Grand Valley game.
Really?
His kid is a captain for Grand Valley. He's a safety, number 20.
Okay.
And he listens all the time.
Right on. Right on, man. Yeah, I had a guy over here. Before I can get into the studio, there's a couple things I have to do. Put an AC unit in and put some carpet down. So I've got people coming and doing measurements and blah, blah, blah. And the guy that came today, he saw my Tigers hat. He was like, Detroit? Dude, literally every person that comes over here to do work is from Detroit.
Yep.
They remember the Drew and Mike show. They're like, get the fuck out of here. Like they remember all that. And I'm like, dude, I'm having Gregg Henson on, former from The Fan. And they're like, oh shit. Where do I listen? Yeah, dude, it's happened multiple times. It's crazy how many Detroiters are here.
What the hell is your setup there? You're living with the warden?
Yeah, and G. But
wait, you have like a separate building out for the studio or the basement?
So downstairs it's connected to the house, but you have to go outside to get to it. I think what we're going to do eventually, could be years down the road, is like build a casita, like a mini version of this house that's totally detached. But right now I'm in my own wing down here and nobody bothers me. And I'm able to hang out with G, which is what I wanted. I don't have kids. And I wasn't married. And it was like, what am I doing? These kids are growing up and I'm not in their lives. And so, the ability to do this from anywhere now, it was like I could sit alone in a house in Michigan, or I could get closer to family and be around Marshy as he's growing up, and
I love that.
Yeah. So I had to come to a tough realization that, dude, you're old enough now where it wouldn't be smart to even have a kid. You met the perfect woman tomorrow. You're just too old. And so it was like, fuck that. You need to be, for me to have a kid right now, that kid should be 20. So it just doesn't, it would be, I don't want to be Al Pacino, and so, or Mick Jagger. It's just weird. I don't think there's the right connection. So it was like, you know what, if I'm going to have any involvement in these kids' lives, it sucks to leave Michigan, but I'm going to come out here. And yesterday, the last 2 days, G and I have gotten the baseball mitts out and thrown the fucking baseball. It's been awesome. It's been awesome.
Throwing your shoulder out. Be careful.
Oh yeah. Loosening it up and shit, dude. It's awesome though. I miss it. I love hanging out with G, and the warden brings her own problems just because she's your wife is what she is. She's a one item voter. It's abortion is the most important thing on planet Earth. It's the only thing anyone cares about.
When she's around, just roll up your sleeves and let her know what time it is.
Yeah. Sometimes you got to remind the hen who the rooster is, as Farley famously told us,
Now, I'm to the point where I can just jump at mine and she'll flinch and back away.
Yeah. Just give it just the what for a little bit. Yeah.
A little who's your daddy.
You don't have to go full Doug Emhoff.
No.
You don't have to do that. You can just cock rear back.
Right.
Send the message.
Or
right?
just look at him like
keep going.
Yeah, keep it up.
Keep going.
Keep it up. This won't end well for you.
Yeah. Just the mere threat. It's good enough.
Right.
Yeah.
They gotta know you're willing to do it.
Yeah. I drop fucking Emhoff warnings all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. When I'm around lippy bitches, I'll be like, you're asking for an Emhoff at this point. Don't
lippy lib bitches.
Lippy lib bitches. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. We'll get into Tim Walz and the story on him this weekend, which is hilarious to me if it's true. Don't know. We'll get into that in a minute, but we should start. Did you? I'm assuming you watched the Lions yesterday.
Gleefully watched the Lions.
Oh my God! How Dallas? Right? Is it?
Right.
Is it? There's just something like, what was it? 6 straight, Greg? 7 straight losses to the Cowboys.
Yeah, they hadn't beaten Dallas since 13 or 14 in Detroit.
Yes, and that was one of Stafford's premier games. One of his.
It was a big comeback.
Comeback. I think of the game against Cleveland when he hurt his shoulder.
Yep.
The famous NFL clips. People can go watch that. It's one of the best NFL films segments. The longest one they ever did was on that game when he separated his shoulder and stayed in there to win that game. And then that Dallas one, jumping over the top.
Yeah, that was the one I was talking about.
Yeah. What was that? 13 or something?
13, I think, yeah. But it was nice. It's nice to roll into Dallas, not get fucked, although they tried a couple times.
Oh, did they ever?
And then they roll in. I love that the first play he checked in Dan Skipper.
Yeah.
And he tried to throw touchdowns to offensive linemen when he was up 25 points, which was awesome.
Dude. I had a kid here just an hour ago working on a AC unit, and he had been watching that game. It was the game of the week. And he was like, "Oh, I wanted that touchdown so fucking bad for Penei Sewell." Yeah. I'm like, "Dude, he was no down idea.
Anyway. His elbow hit before he got in, but it was still cool as hell.
It was awesome, and I don't even think that's a big deal to use that. Like, oh my God, you burned that. Like, dude, that play will work at any time you want to pull it out. Yeah, you're going to surprise teams. Yeah.
And then Brady kept saying on the broadcast, who I thought sounded better than he did the week 1 and 2.
Way better.
He kept saying, why would you show that now? And I'm like, I think there's 50 of those plays in that playbook.
Yeah. It's when you watch football, and I watched the Sunday night game afterwards, and it's like, yep, we all remember what this garbage football looks like. Just garbage touchdowns, garbage, outside of the first drive when Burrows ran for 50 yards. And right before that, G was looking at his bets, and he's like, first touchdown, Ja'Marr Chase. I go, dude, I'd fucking throw it on someone like Burrow. And he's like, Burrow? He doesn't even. I was like, yeah, but it probably pays huge. And G threw $15 on it. And then 2 minutes later, he goes for 50-yard touchdown run. And G cleared over $100 on it.
Oh, nice. Did he give you some?
Hell no. No, hell no.
Oh, G and his lib friend.
Yeah, exactly. That's how libs behave.
I was about to say, just like a liberal.
Yeah, just like a lib. Yeah,
Total
expect nothing less. He's generous sometimes, you could say, but when it comes to his bets, he really hoards his winnings. He won't even buy. Every time he wins a bet, I'm like, I turn immediately to CC and I go, "Oh, Uncle Greg's gonna buy you a treat," and he hasn't bought her shit. Look at that girl.
She is.
Yeah.
Yep. Oyster.
I don't know if I can get over here.
Let me see her. Is she under your feet?
Yeah.
Oh, she's just sleeping. CC.
She's my feet.
Oh,
Hi,
there she is. Oh. Like, what are you touching me for, dude?
Hi.
Oh, good. Yeah. Oh, here she comes.
Yeah,
I feel like
coming out now.
She's starting to stand for the dog.
I'm getting a treat brought to me.
Yeah. I just gave her. She's
part of every greeting includes bringing me a toy.
Yeah. Oh, she's licking Day's legs now. There she is. There's my oyster. Yeah.
Sorry about that. I came running downstairs.
Does she? Well, this one, when G and I were throwing the baseball yesterday, she's just going back, monkey in the middle. It was awesome. Just let her. Yeah, she was exhausted. She came in and just crashed. It was great.
Well, I got to take this one to the park tonight because, man, it rained 2 solid days here. It hasn't rained all summer.
Yeah. No, I keep seeing like the Tigers game, anything it's like, oh, you can tell that there's nothing better than spring and fall in Michigan. Like those fall to me is where it's at. Sweatshirt weather, 55 degrees. It's the best. Winter sucks completely, but those fall days, Michigan football, Lions football, Tiger baseball when they're in it, just awesome. And I look outside here and it's 93 and sunny. You're just like,
never ends.
Yeah, it's just it really does kind of get old quick. You're just like, Jesus Christ, again. Nothing, no sweatshirts.
You'll wear a sweatshirt in February, maybe.
Yeah, it's gonna break this week and be down like in the 70s, which is nice. I love 70s. 70s is good. Yeah. And then in the winter at night, it'll get cold. It'll get in the 40s, stuff like that. But
so did you cry when Aiden Hutchinson hurt himself in the game?
Dude, yeah. Did you see it in real time?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so did I.
Well, and the thoughts and prayers crowd went nuts on X after it happened. But this is a leg break, guys. This is not the end of the world. He might play again this year if they get far in the playoffs.
Yeah.
I doubt it, and I wouldn't bother at that point.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
But it's just a broken leg that it's already put back together. I heard a doctor today say that he would be walking in 4 to 5 weeks.
I heard a doctor saying that they'd have him up like quick on crutches, boot, like immediately. My dad called me. He was golfing with some guy, and I don't know if the guy had heard this or if he was talking to someone in the family who made some comment about like, if the Lions made it to the Super Bowl, he literally might be able to play, which I don't know if that's true or not. Because wouldn't the Lions put him on some sort of, in order, if they wanted to bring someone in onto the 53-man roster, wouldn't they have to designate him as like done for the year?
No. You can go on IR. I'm not sure how PUP works, but you can go on IR for multiple stretches.
So that's a minimum 4 weeks IR?
It's 4.
Or 5? 4 or 5?
It's 4 because Nico Collins from Texas just went
Houston,
on. From the Texans. Just went on for 4 weeks. So
yeah.
But yeah, I think they'll be fine. He'll be fine. It's better to do something like this than to start ripping tendons and ACLs and stuff.
Yeah, well, the best news of all that I heard was clean break, not compound fracture.
Right.
Because compound fracture, you get into that Joe Theismann, Alex Smith. Well, arteries, but also air and dirt, which you can turn it like that's career ending. I thought it was gross watching Alex Smith play. Every time he took a snap that last year with the Redskins, it was like, dude, what are we doing? What are we doing? Stop it. This is just like, I understand you want to play. This isn't fun to watch. This is just, and he can do whatever he wants, obviously. I look at it like, honestly, when I see an injury like Hutch's, I knew, like, at first he started taking his gloves off. And my
I thought
brother's,
he tore his fingers up.
He hurt his wrist, he hurt his hand, something. And they showed the replay in slow motion before they realized on the broadcast what had happened and before they went to that first commercial break. And I saw the leg and I went, oh shit, it's over. And that kind of break, you know if it's a compound fracture because of the pants they're wearing and stuff, but that could be that to me. I struggle to walk around the house. Like, even right now, I'm like, it just freaks me out. Like, we're all one slip away from something like that. And I don't know. Do you worry at all that this could be infection down the road and you're dealing with multiple things? And
his dad said, this isn't as bad as the injury at Michigan when he broke the leg. He played at Michigan his sophomore year. He broke a leg. I don't know which one. And his dad said this one is not as bad as that.
Really? Mm-hmm. I don't remember him.
It's not. He was hurt.
It's what?
He was hurt at Michigan when he missed his sophomore year.
Really? Mm-hmm. Yeah, these guys are different level. I would never play again. I would be done. I'm a pussy. There's no way. I'd be like, yep, that's a wrap. I'm done.
Well, considering, he's already made all that money, he doesn't even need to play again. But
no.
The only disappointment for me, Mike, was that he was going to win Defensive Player of the Year.
No, for sure. Yeah. I mean, trajectory-wise, he was. I look at it this way, too. Lions fan, I saw a lot of people posting last night. That's it. Super Bowl runs over. I would tell people that the NFL has done this. They have turned this into 100% an offense league. It's an offense league. Defenses, you're lucky if you get a handful of stops per game. Teams are going to score points, unless they're Dallas yesterday against the Lions. It's just like, if Goff goes down, that's a much bigger problem.
You're done. If
Goff done.
He's the most important player on the team.
Yep. You can go down a receiver. You can go down a tight end. You can go down a superstar. I don't want to negate how important Aiden Hutchinson is, but as far as an NFL franchise team goes, what you're putting on the field, you cannot lose a starting quarterback. And other than that, teams built well can weather an awful lot.
Right.
I mean, that's just the way I think of it. The amount of ticky-tack bullshit defensive penalties they call and don't call, the times they call, like they've sent the message that they want people being able to air it out and throw it deep. And, that's just the way this league is. The idea you're going to have an 85 Bears, a 2010, was it, Ravens team, like those days are over.
Right.
They're gone. They don't exist anymore.
And I think it's important, too, to realize there's some other playmakers on that defense as well. You saw Brian Branch yesterday.
Dude.
Elaine McNeil both played really well yesterday.
Yeah.
And they might make a move. I mean, they have the money to go trade for a Max Crosby if they want to do that.
Are the Raiders smart enough to do that? That's the problem. The Raiders seem like an inept organization.
First round pick for Max Crosby?
What would it take? A first and a fourth? I've heard people throw around.
I hate giving up number one picks because this administration has done such a good job with them.
Yeah, but they've done good with fives and twos and threes, and like that. That's what the Niners have done to rebuild. Is they've smashed it with 6th-round picks, 5th-round picks, 3rd-round picks. They're all starters. The Lions have done it. Yeah. It's hard to do in this league, and the Lions have been spectacular the last couple of years. But when they drafted Brian Branch, I went, that's the steal of the draft.
Yeah, I didn't know much about him until I saw him play, and then I thought, whoa.
Oh, just a football player. Always around the ball. Never drops an opportunity for a pick. Always. He's just a ball player. I knew it. That kid coming out of Alabama, it was just like, no, that's the steal of the draft, and he has not disappointed me at all.
No, I hear you. I don't worry as much about Hutch not being there as I do about a Goff. Like I saw a writer said the most important player on the team, the one guy they could not lose was Hutchinson. And I'm like, no, because even his mentality will still be in the building when he's rehabbing. It's not like he just won't ever be around the team. That's the biggest thing he brings is that relentless, the relentless pursuit.
Yeah.
But
there's a handful of guys on planet Earth. You know what Nick Bosa is doing in San Francisco, not Joey, Nick.
Right.
What Aiden is doing in Detroit, what Max does in Las Vegas. Like, there's a few guys on Earth. Like, the idea that you're going to replace Aiden Hutchinson, it would literally need to be a Max Crosby. And if the Raiders were smart, if you think about the Raiders organization, they are a toilet bowl. They're going nowhere. They don't have a starting quarterback. They're in a position the Lions were in 3 years ago. You're right. And when the Lions, when a lot of us, myself included, were like, oh no, you can't lose Stafford. He's the franchise. He's the guy. He still has years left. He's not the problem. And the Lions recognized, no, we need picks. We need bodies. We need extra first rounders. We need to be able to go and win in the draft. And I think the Raiders are in exactly that position. The smart thing for them to do would be going, Max, we love you. You're the face of the franchise. We're going to give you an opportunity to go play for a team that can win today because we are years away. Right. And you can accelerate that for us today. They go grab a first and a fourth round pick from the Lions, a first and some cash, a first and whatever, you know. I don't think you go crazy like the Rams did and give up 3 1s or whatever the hell they did for Stafford, but
no. But you don't even, you may not even need to go that big.
No,
you know, just somebody who can get after a quarterback a little bit. I mean, with Hutch, it's every play, but you know, you could get somebody who can get in there and just provide some help on the outside. Maybe McNeil can give you enough push. Although I always worry about him getting hurt.
Mm-hmm. Does he have a history with injuries?
Big guys on the defensive line always make me nervous.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. You know, you didn't see a drop off yesterday. You know, Dallas supposedly has a competent offense. You know, it'll be interesting to see. Next week's going to be a test for sure. You know, going up.
Who's this week?
Minnesota, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Home or away?
I want to say that one's away. Someone told me, and I've already forgot. Can you look that up? Where the Lions-Vikings game is next week, Garrett?
Yeah.
I think it's in Minnesota, and it's vice. I can't remember. I think we play them the last game of the season too.
It'll be October 20th, and it's Lions at Minnesota.
At Minnesota, okay. So the last game of the year is in Detroit against the Vikings, but and hopefully that game doesn't matter. Hopefully you're in a position where that game doesn't matter to either team.
Right. Yeah. If they play the way they did in Dallas, it'll be a win
against Minnesota.
Yeah.
You think so?
That was a great effort, man.
Oh, it's so fun, isn't it?
The offense, it's nice to watch a Lion game and not worry about them winning or losing.
Yeah.
I mean, that game was over pretty quick, man.
Yeah. Dude, did you have any doubt? G put big money on that game. Big money, a few $100.
I knew they'd win.
No. I thought they were going to stomp the fucking Cowboys. Stomp them. I think they're a fraud of a franchise. Fraud. Soft. I posted yesterday. They're soft. They're soft when they tackle. They're soft on offense. You look at that Lions team, just swarm, fucking punch you in the mouth. And you look at the Cowboys, just soft. They've been soft for years.
Yeah, and I think Dak Prescott sucks.
Yeah. I don't think
I wouldn't want him. But when they were talking about paying him all that money, I thought
good.
Jerry was kind of resisting it.
Yeah.
I thought, you're smart, Jerry. Don't pay him.
Yeah. I think it's great. I loved it when they re-signed their coach. I loved it when, give Dak Prescott $60 million. Great. Awesome. Yep.
Yeah.
They are what they are. You know, give Micah Parsons the bag. Go ahead. Micah Parsons puts up all his numbers against the fucking shittiest teams in the division. That's what he is. He goes up against real offenses with real weapons, and Micah Parsons disappears. He's not a threat against, you know, when my Niners teams have played those Cowboys in these big playoff-like games, it's like Micah Parsons disappears from the stat sheet. And he's world
Penn State,
beater.
Man.
What's
Penn
that?
Penn State always disappears in the biggest games.
Dude, he's the St. Louis Blues of the fucking of the Red Wings run. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, sure. Yeah. sure. They're just not a threat. They're going to put up wins. Let them get their 13 fucking wins a year. Who cares? They're just not a threat when push comes to shove.
I agree. And going forward, I think the Lions will be fine without Aiden. No, I mean,
yeah,
they would have been better with him, but they're going to be fine.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Thoughts and prayers though to Hutch. Hope he lives.
What's that?
I hope he lives.
Yeah. Well, it just makes you sick. You feel in the moment sort of cursed, like really, this team has been so bad. Think about the years at the Fan that you had to cover this inept organization that just couldn't get out of their own way, no matter how much the fanhood wanted it. They just, for decades, and to finally know, as people that have watched this franchise for decades, to finally know that, no, you're legit. You can go anywhere, play anyone, and you're not going to get blown out. You're not going to be an embarrassment. You're not going to do the dumb shit. It doesn't mean you're going to win every game, but they're legit.
Right. I'm going to move upstairs where it's quiet.
Yeah. Who's the yippy lib dog you got going on there?
Well, we got 3 of them up here.
Yeah.
Oyster, of course, being a good girl.
Mm-hmm.
Being a good girl.
Always. They're the best.
She's a conservative. The other libs are barking at nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm just going up to
boogeymen. They're barking at boogeymen.
Right, exactly. They think Trump's out there.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's an orange man.
Oh my God. Dad, there's an existential threat out here. There's an existential threat.
Democracy is at risk. We're barking to save democracy.
Oh, it's hilarious, dude.
There we
hilarious.
Go.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh, I look good.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you and the boys were watching the Tiger game.
Yeah, but I get pissed at the Tigers because Chris Ilitch is such a clown.
Yeah.
You see the stat last week. The Tigers' whole lineup doesn't make as much as one player on the Astros, and I'm like, guys, that's not a good thing.
Yeah.
That's not good.
Yeah.
That just means your owner's an asshole.
Yeah. What was it? 18.8 million to 19 million for Hader. Wasn't that?
Yeah. And I'm like, and so here's what'll happen. Chris Ilitch is going to go, why do we need to spend any more money? We made the playoffs with this crew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do we need to sign Scooble in 2 years?
Here's what I don't know. Like these Cinderella runs happen in sports where a team gets hot. For whatever reason, things go their way. And I'm not saying that they did it over a stretch, man. They played good ball, but is this something where next year reality kicks in, the reality of this team and what they are kicks in, or is this the foundation for greatness going forward?
There's foundational pieces, but I don't think the foundation for greatness is there yet. They still don't have enough bats. They don't have Torkelson's a bust, the number 1 overall pick. Casey Mize, the number 1 overall pick, isn't going to work out. I mean, if you have those guys, now you're talking. But at this point, man, you need to go out in free agency and fill in some holes. They need another starter, and they need 2 bats. That's minimum, I think, in the offseason. They got to spend some money to fill in. And they're terrible. I think some of these young guys like Job and Young have a lot of potential, but those guys are still a couple years away from being great players.
Yeah.
I like what I see. I think the pitching staff is great, the way they pound that strike zone and hit their spot.
Dude, watching Scooble is so fun. He is no bullshit. That dude
he's Verlander level.
Yeah, he is no bullshit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And watching him in 4 seconds pitch again, like he's relentless.
Yes.
He owns the strike zone. It's you know it when you see it and you go, yeah, that's not a fluke. That's not like, you just know it and you go, yeah, that guy would start. He'd be an ace on every franchise in Major League Baseball. Like
just pounding the strike zone.
Yeah. Yeah. The idea that, well, yeah, we're going to work him. We're going to get him deep in the count. No, you're not. No, you're not.
No, because all he does is
1,
throw
2,
strikes.
you're down 0-2 before the fucking you know what happened. 8 seconds in, you're down 0-2. Like there's no getting that guy deep and getting out of the game. Like stop it.
No. That's an idiotic notion.
The idea too that like when you're a garbage franchise, when you're bottom of the league, when you're one of those teams that hasn't done shit for a decade and you're in the Midwest, you're in Detroit.
Right.
Big free agents don't want to go there. They want to go to LA. They want to go to New York. They want to go to a legit contender. You know, those things matter. And so I don't you think this will really help in the offseason where it's like free agents might look at this and go, this team was really good. They're only a couple pieces away. I'm going to Detroit. Kind of like in the early mid, 2010.
When Pudge and Maglio came?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I think number one, you have to look at the money too. I mean, players will go where the money is. Baez came. He just sucked.
Yeah.
4 more years left on that contract, by the way. At what, $28 million a year?
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't care. The Ilitches are billionaires. I don't give a damn. Just shut up and take some money for some players. And I don't even think you need to go after Soto or that level. And just get some professional bats. Somebody who can move a guy like the guy. Who's the guy that Cleveland got at the trade deadline who hit 2 home runs, including the grand slam to beat the Tigers?
Yeah.
Tigers sure could have used a trade deadline acquisition, couldn't they have?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they were traders. They were they ditched players. Yeah, they were sellers at the deadline.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll be interesting. Someone like Kwan, Stephen Kwan, you're just like, this guy is a problem every time he came to bat. And
Ramirez.
Yeah.
Well, and this morning, Michelle said, I didn't think Cleveland was any better than the Tigers. And I'm like, what game were you watching? Cleveland has Kwan and Ramirez and both nailers and pitching and closers. What are you talking about? Cleveland is good. Yeah. And that series, it didn't surprise me the Tigers lost. Cleveland has a good young team too.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think that the Yankees wanted the Tigers to win that game or Cleveland?
I don't think they care.
No.
But Cleveland is the better team. They would have probably been rooting for the Tigers.
Yeah.
Although in a 7-game series, you can throw your starter, your ace 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if
maybe,
they would.
I don't know anymore.
Well, no, they wouldn't have been able to because he wouldn't have been able to start game 1 on Monday.
Right. And plus, they're doing 5 days now, and you can't. It's
not that usually doesn't work out well. I remember that working for the Giants
and Mickey Lolich.
You could go to sure.
Back when they didn't care if your arm fell off.
Yeah, they'd go fucking. You're pitching 17 innings today. You could do that with guys. The Giants did it successfully with Bumgarner one year.
Yeah, and against the Tigers, right?
Was it no?
13.
It might have been. It wasn't that game though that I'm thinking of. It was a different one, but it was one of those where they put him in on 2 days rest or something, and he went 7 brilliant innings or something like that. It was like. That doesn't usually work out that way. I can't remember exactly what it was. But yeah, it's too bad. It was a lot of fun though. It was fun for the city, fun for the fans. I think having that city really excited about the Lions, excited. The Wings are doing good things for sure. The Tigers, I went to the Pistons game 2 nights ago, Friday night, I guess 3 nights ago in Phoenix. Yeah. And they fucking absolutely stomped the Suns. Dude, I don't know. There were 17,000 fans there for a preseason game.
A lot of Piston fans?
There were quite a bit of Pistons fans, but I mean, dude, the entire stadium was packed. Packed for a preseason. I honestly thought there were going to be spattering of people in the lower bowl, and that was it.
Yeah.
Packed. Like, crazy.
I don't know why you would waste your time watching that team.
You know what? There's a buddy of mine and my brother's that has season tickets.
Oh, okay.
And so it was like free food, the whole thing, and so it was like, yeah, let's the Pistons are in town, let's go to that game, and it was kind of cool. It was fun, and the Pistons look great. They fucking killed them.
Yeah. Cool.
And seeing anytime you can seeing Bol Bol out there.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Manute's kid, just the human frame is not meant to be 7'3". It's just not. It's just not, dude.
No, those guys look like absolute freak shows, man.
Yeah. It's insane to see them in person and
right.
Yeah. But seeing Kevin Garnett or not Garnett, the who's the stud? He was with the Warriors and with
Kevin Durant.
Durant. Yeah. Seeing Durant out there and yeah, it was fun. I'm glad I went. Seeing that stadium was cool. Yeah, it was cool.
Are there 3 arenas? Are there 2 arenas in Phoenix now? The one downtown and the one in Glendale?
Well, there's 2. There's the baseball stadium right there, right next door to the basketball stadium. And then in Glendale, you've got the Cardinals spaceship looking thing.
Isn't there an arena in Glendale too that the Coyotes used to play in?
They've been playing in a college
Arizona
place.
State. But
yeah,
I swear there was an arena in Glendale.
There could be. I don't know. I haven't been here long enough. I'm not sure. Anyways, I wanted to get onto the Tim Walz story. Were you following any of that stuff?
It's called Desert Diamond Arena, by the way.
It is. What is it? The hockey place?
It was for the hockey, but they couldn't come to a deal.
Yes, and so that franchise left
Arizona.
Yeah. What are they? Utah now or something?
Yeah, the Utah Hockey Club.
Yeah. I like the idea though that it kind of like Cleveland did when the Ravens were born. Like you can take our team, but you cannot take our colors or our name or our history. And I think that worked out really well. You don't think of the Ravens as just the former Cleveland Browns at all.
Because the only problem with Arizona was the stadium for hockey. They support the team when they win, just like anybody else.
Yeah.
Did you see the sign at the very first Utah game?
No. What was it?
Let us know when you're done with the Cardinals and Diamondbacks. We'll take them too.
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Yeah, I think it's really good when that franchise left and Arizona gets to keep the logos, the Coyotes name. The Utah Jazz never made sense. You know what I mean? Like the LA Lakers. It makes sense when they were from Minnesota.
Right.
It doesn't make any fucking sense when you're, Utah Jazz worked in New Orleans. It doesn't make any fun. The Utah Mormons make sense.
Give it back.
Yeah.
Well, I like the when they were going to name the Utah team the Yeti. I love that logo.
Yeti, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah, the Tim Walz thing. I've seen Black insurrectionist posts.
Yeah, what do you make of him?
You got to prove this, man. I'm
looking at him right now. Like I have him up on my other monitor. That's kind of what I've been looking into.
Yeah.
I'm not going Jesse Smollett. I'm waiting because
Yep.
How many times are we going to get burned? Now this person claims they're going to come forward.
Yes.
We'll see. Because other than that, it's just an internet troll.
Yeah. As of 10 hours ago, we just got a statement from the quote unquote victim.
Yeah.
Really?
He hasn't come out though.
Exactly.
So it's funny how people want to debunk this. Some people want this to be true. I hope this isn't true. I think it would, obviously you don't want any kid being, Tim Walz seems fruity and weird to me. I'll be honest with you.
He is weird as hell.
Him, it's like the most trollish level of projection I've ever seen when he started coming out and trying to claim like JD Vance is weird, like all that shit.
JD Vance is the most normal human being on the planet.
Yeah, like you can hate their policies. I have no problem with that. You can take issue with policy stuff. You can be. I totally understand when people are like these extreme Christian conservatives scare me. Fine. You can take issue with that, but JD Vance isn't weird that. Like that is where I draw the line on that. But if I'm being honest, Tim Walz, his whole fucking flamboyant weirdo, he screams fucking weird to me. Yeah. Like it's very weird.
He's going to cost her that election. One of the reasons she loses. And I do think Trump's separating himself right now, according to all the polls that we're starting to see. It looks like he could be upwards of 312 electoral votes if these polls are even close to right. Because you want all the Republicans win the national vote when they're within 5 points of the Democrat.
Yeah.
And Biden needed 8% to beat Trump, and right now it's 1.
Yeah.
I mean, this is shaping up to not be close. I saw a poll today from Rasmussen that has him up 3 in Pennsylvania, and that's game, set, match. I mean, she needs Pennsylvania or she can't win. Either that or she's got to steal North Carolina and Georgia.
Yeah. What I would say to that is, if you're looking at metrics through history, I don't know if they apply right now.
Probably not, but I'm going by the last 3 elections that involved Trump.
Yes, but I don't know.
He was within 5 when he won. He was down 8 when he lost by 40,000 votes in the swing states. And now he's only down 1 in the big national polls. But if you also look at these swing states, all of them but Nevada, he seems to be pulling ahead in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know her internal polling is bad when she agrees to go on Fox.
Yeah. That should tell people something. That is big. And what you're talking about is doing Brett Baer's show on Wednesday.
And he'll be fair to her. He will.
Oh yeah. No, if people don't know, we've talked about it before, but if you think of these people have so ginned themselves up into like anything that comes out of Fox News is crazy. And, even though they prove to be right more than wrong, but that's the narrative that is pumped out there. You can't say that when you're talking about Brett Baer and who's Shannon Bream,
right?
Like what they mean when they say that. They're talking about the opinion guys, Hannity and Laura Ingraham, and whether you want to go back to Glenn Beck and like those people, Tucker,
O'Reilly.
O'Reilly, thank you. That's the name I was trying to come up with.
Fucking thing sucks.
Yeah. So it's it'll be interesting, but yeah, I think that reeks of desperation when you're talking about putting her.
And now she's going after Trump's medical records. I don't give a fuck about his cholesterol level. I want to know why inflation's high.
Yeah. I mean,
she's so desperate right now. I mean, she wanted another debate on CNN. I would have told her to fuck off too.
Yeah.
If I'm Trump or any other Republican nominee, other than Vance, because he's pretty smart and he's better than the rest. Did you see him with Martha Raddatz over the weekend?
Yeah, I have it. I believe.
He walked her in a circle, man.
Wait, who are you talking about?
JD Vance with Martha Raddatz.
Oh, you know what? I heard about it. I didn't watch that.
She said, the mayor of so-and-so town in Colorado says there's only a handful of incidents where Venezuelan gangs are taking over apartment complexes. And he goes, are you listening to yourself? Did you hear what you just said? In America, Venezuelan gangs are taking over apartment complexes.
Yeah. 3 of them? How many's too many?
And then she's arguing with him, and I'm like, why does nobody ever sit down with Kamala and go, why do you keep pushing this lie that Trump's involved in Project 2025? Why do you do that?
Yeah.
And then you turn around and call him a liar. How can you do that? And no one ever asks her any of that.
Yeah.
Ever.
Do you think Brett Baer will?
No.
Yeah.
They're part of the Uniparty too, Fox.
Yeah.
They're not good. The only ones who aren't are the talking heads at night.
Yeah, I agree that afternoon lineup is way more like CNN.
Right down the middle, yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're going for. I think Brett, if he's gonna come out of there with credibility intact at all, he's gonna have to ask some of those questions. He's gonna have to. Because it's a big deal. These people have avoided any sort of pushback media at all costs. Like they don't want to do friendly media, unless it's perfectly scripted teleprompter. They know exactly what the questions are. Like they don't do anything adversarial at all. That's been the MO for months. So that's why it's made a bigger deal than it needs to be made of. Just the fact that she's doing Fox News. Fox News has a responsibility too to maintain some credibility and go, okay, people are expecting if she's going on Fox News, it means they're going to ask real questions.
If they ask the right questions, they'll end her on the spot. Because then she's going on there hoping to sway a few thousand votes. That's all.
Yeah.
And if he asks the right questions in the right way,
What is that? Is that does anyone believe that Kamala Harris is going to be able to go on Fox News and like grab some like hardcore daytime Fox News watchers?
I have no idea. Well, plus it'll get sent out through the narrative is, look, she went into the lion's den, and then ABC and CNN and all those guys.
Yeah.
But you know, I don't know where you find these elusive undecideds. I don't believe they exist.
I don't either.
It's just a matter of who goes out and votes this year. And I think, I don't know, man, I'm starting to feel like this is going to be a election night stunner in that I think it's going to be a big win. I don't think he's going to eke it out. I could be wrong, but I'm going by what the data says right now, and we're going to find out.
I kind of think that too. You know, here's my problem. I don't think it's close at all. I don't think any of the optics say that. Reality, like the bullshit narrative, you know, people aren't buying. Trump's a threat to democracy. Oh my God, she's
a fucking Hitler. Change agent.
Right. Yeah. People aren't buying that. Even people on the left aren't buying that.
No.
So I don't think in reality, like at some point you have to say what you're for and people need to believe you. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that is sticking. Now, I don't know that I believe that anything is off the table as far as cheating goes. I really don't. I hate to say that. It sucks. I had Craig Ardula on to talk about how this goes and how this has been done historically, how it's done now, how things changed during COVID. Like it went through the breakdown of all of it. Yep. And I just don't believe anything is that these people are incapable of anything. I just don't. I know there's tons 60 Minutes and everybody's going to do a story and they're going to try to tell you how perfect these elections are. I don't believe it.
But I don't think you can believe any of the news. It's any belief that any of those news outlets, the major networks, are unbiased is a joke. I mean, when Martha Raddatz is arguing with J.D. Vance over his policies, you don't argue with candidates. You can press them, but she was literally arguing like his bitch wife. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was like, are you kidding me, lady? Let him answer the question.
That is such a backfire move, in my opinion. All you're doing is hardening these guys to be able to handle adversarial attacks. Like these guys have this idea you're going to push a narrative like, oh, Trump's afraid. He won't do another debate because he's afraid. It's like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, like he hasn't sat in front of Leslie Stahl.
Yeah.
When she tried to argue with him on,
it's just that true, Mr. President.
What about his health, though? What's his cholesterol?
Yeah, like nobody's buying that.
No.
And the problem is this should have been just no big deal. Her and fucking weirdo Walz are out there doing interviews all the time. They're winning some, they're stalemating in others, but they're doing dozens of these a week. It's no big deal. Instead, you think you're going to Joe Biden these people and bury them away from the election? Like you don't have the cover of COVID anymore. It doesn't make any sense. Like you could push that bullshit narrative 4 years ago under this boogeyman of COVID, which is what they did. That you can't do that now. And you can't take Kamala Harris and hide her away or Tim Walz. You're not going to get away with that. So they would have been seasoned by now. A few months of doing this week in and week out, they would have known every fucking question, every attack, every angle. They'd know how to respond. They'd know what body language works. 3 months goes by and you're a war vet. And now it's like, ooh, she's doing a Fox News interview. Like
egads.
Yeah, holy shit. The whole world's going to tune in and fucking micromanage it. Like that's not the win you think it is.
It's not. It looks bad. It looks stupid.
It looks desperate. It looks desperate is what it looks like, honestly. I don't know that it matters. I don't know. The for those that don't know, the Tim Walz story we're talking about, apparently this Twitter handle, Black Insurrectionist, got this tip from someone that claims that back in 1996, Tim Walz, famously had started this gay club at the high school. That's been documented, talking about this gay alliance club where all the gay students would get together and, oh, what a progressive guy. Well, this kid or man now, if it's to be believed, wrote this story and gave it to black insurrectionists and went into great detail about going to this Indigo Girls concert with Tim Walz, which tracks.
Well, yeah, you say they picked the right show.
I mean, if the kid said Tim Walz took me to a fucking Pantera concert, I'd be like, that doesn't track. But using the Indigo Girls, you're like,
wasn't going to see Sepultura, that's for sure.
Right. And they had cocktails and then went home.
14. He was 14.
14.
Yeah.
And got blown by Walz. He woke up to Walz blowing him. And if you said about what's that?
Oh, there's also a couple claims that he took them on like these trips to China all the time, the students, and there were some things that went on in those Chinese trips, and now photos are actually coming out of him drinking with students on those trips.
Yeah.
Oh.
I've seen some of those.
How did you not vet that before he became governor?
I was just going to say,
here's one of them.
The problem I have with that story.
Him lining up his boys.
I have that one saved just in case.
Yeah.
Just him in the gay club.
The problem with this is exactly what you just alluded to, Greg. Like you would think the vetting process would be enough that anything you've done, anything you like, there's no way that if there were smatterings of rumors, and we all knew, there was rumor that this girl banged a teacher in high school or something. There was always something weird. Those would come out in the vetting process. They just would. And so if there was even a hint of it was a joke around the school, we made fun of Coach Tim, and there was rumor that he might be fruity. That's enough to blow someone right out.
But why not? Why can't they go back, look at the meeting notes when he got fired?
Yeah.
And say, why was he fired? Isn't somebody still alive on that school board who would come forward and say, we had rumors that he was, out with boys and drinking and having sex with them. And so, I mean, I just don't believe any of it till there's proof, because I hate what they did to Justice Kavanaugh. I hate what they did to Clarence Thomas. And so I'm not getting involved. And we know, I'm not going to step in it either way because we have no clue. The internet's not the real world.
Nope.
Black insurrectionist is anonymous. I don't know who that is.
Yeah.
So put your money where your mouth is. Bring me some proof. This should be easily provable why he was fired.
Yes. Yep.
Well, let's find out why that is. I
agree. There are people that are coming out and saying, and I'll read this to you. Someone is coming out and saying Agent Self FBI, and people are taking issue with the punctuation is off. Like there's a comma here that shouldn't be there if you're using this type of email stuff. This stuff goes over my head. I'll be honest about it. Yeah. I'll read you. So Agent Self FBI says, for full disclosure on this, because I don't want to do exactly what you just talked about. What with Christine Blasey Ford or the fucking lady that named her cat Vagina who claims Trump assaulted her.
Right.
And just be like, that's all the proof I need. Some whack job says it with zero evidence to back it up. And guilty. No, I'm not willing to do that to Tim Walz, and I know you're not either.
And I'm not willing to do it to Doug Emhoff either, unless something comes out that he actually backhanded that girlfriend of his, because although Kamala tells me I should believe all women.
Right. And that's the danger. I don't believe all women because I know some women that are absolute batshit crazy. Like
I wish I had my pussy hat.
Yeah. So this guy says, I don't like to credential myself, but I'm going to in this case because it's important. I'm a career financial crimes investigator. I now lead a fin crime money laundering team in the private sector. I conduct forensic audits on massive accounts, specifically focusing on accounting, fraud, and money laundering. The devil is always in the details. People who manipulate, fabricate, create, or alter documents often overlook small details. It takes a trained eye to spot these manipulations, but once you do, they're obvious.
And I guess you're going to do it.
Yeah. Here are the inconsistencies with these alleged emails. First problem, Exhibits A and B. In the screenshot on the left, you see Friday, August 9th, while in the email on the right, it reads Thursday, August 8th, without a comma after Thursday. Additionally, Proton Mail, like most email platforms, omits the time zone in the date and timestamp. In Exhibit C, where it says October 13, 2024 at 4:59 p.m., the time zone is not shown. Furthermore, the date timestamp format is inconsistent between screenshots. Proton Mail does not use a leading 0 before single-digit hours in the timestamp. For example, it should be 6:07:51 p.m., not 06751. Also, according to their email header format listed on their website, this is inconsistent, blah, blah, blah. The Twitter handle is a fraud and a fake. This proves these emails are not authentic. So he responded to that. He did. I'm sorry. I'm fiddling through a lot of paperwork here.
It's breaking right
where
now.
He said we use multiple different types of email, Gmail and Proton Mail and Outlook or whatever.
Right. So he responded to that. Before I go on with the Walz post, let me put something to rest. On June 20th, 24, I called on an account on X who was making fake posts from people when he did it to President Trump. I called on him to be banned. So when my post came out about Walz, this moron made a fake post from me. And I saw this post going everywhere. As you can see by this post, it's clearly fake. He cut off replies. He cut off everything. In fact, I do not even see a date. But here's my post on June 20th calling him out for faking posts. This douchebag has fake posts all over his timeline.
Wait, he's saying this is the FBI guy or whatever?
Yes,
the FBI guy.
That he's got history with this FBI guy. And FBI guy blocked him at one point. So he says, this post that he's claiming is from me, Black Insurrectionist, is bullshit. I never made this post. The fake FBI, the FBI guy posted this saying, this guy will go to any lengths. Here's proof. Here's what he tweeted before. And it said, I'll fake shit if I have to. You fucking commies need to be shut down. That was apparently sent from this Black Insurrectionist guy. He says, the douchebag has fake posts all over his timeline. I honestly don't think I have ever used the word commies ever. I call libs many things, but not commies. Anyway, just wanted to show you the big gotcha that liberals are throwing around is from an account that makes up fake posts. And if anyone cannot tell the post is fake, they have issues anyways. And then he also screenshots it with the fact that the guy blocked him.
Yeah.
So is there any truth to this?
Being this vested in the, I mean, these people are nuts.
They're nuts. Here's what I know. Before Elon Musk got a hold of Twitter, this story would be banned as misinformation.
Yep.
I don't know. And you and I have both been very careful to say, we have no idea if this story's true. We require a lot more information. That we are not going to Brett Kavanaugh someone like Tim Walz over this. But usually when these stories come out, there's some level, I had to go to Hindustan Times to get an actual article written on this. Nothing in the mainstream media. You would think if someone is claiming this sort of abuse went on with a child, with a teacher, and you can point to dates when they were fired, and exactly what you said, let's go to the minutes of that meeting and find out why this person, and when we say fired, he left of his own, one of those, like, I'm stepping down so you don't get fired types of things.
But somebody has to know. And not only that is, if they ran with the Jussie Smollett thing, that was all over the news, and there was not an ounce of proof. Not 1 ounce of proof. So don't tell me you don't have enough proof to report on it. I would prefer that they don't, because that'll force this guy out of the weeds. If he wants to get it reported on, he's going to have to come forward. Yes.
And Garrett, are you looking at that in real time right now?
I'm trying to keep up on it, yeah.
So apparently there's 3 victims. If any of this is to be believed, that Walz took this kid to a Indigo Girls concert, but they ended up drinking together and then going back and blowing this kid and whatever. This relationship went on for a couple of years. The kid realized he wasn't gay, and whatnot. There's apparently 3 victims, 2 that are willing to say something or could be corroborated with actual timeline evidence, and 1 that can't. And he says in his responses, I was following a lot of this yesterday. Is any of it true?
I read it, and I'm not getting too into it because I don't really necessarily believe it.
I think it's worth talking about right now, because the fact of the matter is that if Elon Musk hadn't bought Twitter, what we'd be dealing with right now is this would be banned and smokescreened completely.
I have bad news for you.
Yeah.
Even if he did it, they're still going to vote for
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't care. They don't care. It's all talk. Like, I mean, this is the same party that screamed Russia, Russia, Russia for 4 years, and they're still screaming it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, give me a break.
Do you have to get out of here, Gregg?
Yeah, I got to get Oi to the park before it gets dark because she hasn't been out for 2 days, dude. She's jumping off the walls.
Yeah. Go do your thing. I just got your text, and I appreciate you being here, buddy. I appreciate your insight. Let's do it again later this week or tomorrow, whatever.
I'm here all day. It's an easy week, bro. Last week was hell.
Yeah, no worries, man. Let's
man.
I had some other stories I wanted to talk to you about, but we've got plenty of time this week. And I really appreciate you talking Lions, Tigers. Some of this stuff is more fun to get into the weeds on. So always a good time. I'll continue going with Garrett. And but feel free to check out Garrett if you want to take Gregg out, or Gregg, if you take yourself out, that's fine. Okay. And take care of Ois for me. And I will talk to you. I'll text you later.
I'll show myself to the door.
There you go. All right, buddy.
What do you
say hi to your wife for me. See you, dude.
See ya. Say good day. Yeah. Go ahead.
Good day. I said good day. Fucking boot in the ass. Beat it. Garrett, I'm interested a little bit on your take on a story like this.
All right.
Because I remember years ago, Milo Yiannopoulos got in a lot of trouble for talking about being a young gay male and the older male kind of role model relationship and I think that shouldn't be discarded. I think that aspect is, I won't pretend to know what that confusion is like for a young person, how that might differ in society, where it's expected like, oh, you're going to be a good boy and find a good girlfriend and blah, blah, blah. And to not have that be the norm, the reality, and might seek out in other places some sort of acceptance, some sort of welcoming, some sort of thing. I don't think that's necessarily totally nefarious or crazy.
No, not at all. That's usually, I usually lean down that road too, is that there's a lot of adults. And I always tell people that usually once they go down the line of looking at kids and stuff, these adults, they don't care if it's male or female. They're already too far gone. They're looking at kids.
You're talking about pedophiles, or
yes. Just without saying the word,
which is different than just like a confused or just a gay kid that doesn't know where to go.
So
doesn't know
the
where
gay
to
kid, this is where the gay kid kind of falls into the trap, is because they can't really talk to their parents about their feelings. So when they do find an adult who's willing to kind of accept them and talk to them, and usually boost them up and get them on their like it's like silly putty. These kids can't talk to their parents. They don't feel trusting of their parents. They feel like their parents won't accept them if they come out. Yeah. So these confused and sort of gay kids usually look for a different adult, and unfortunately, the only adults who are interested are pedophiles.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel like a lot of those relationships end up, and that's why I always think it's weird that they like the drag queen story hour and stuff like that. It's like, look, you shouldn't be the role model for those kids,
right? No, I agree with you totally. I wonder if there's anything to, like, we've laughed for years, Teacher of the Year candidates, right? When you take a 16-year-old boy, right? He's technically legally underage, but he bangs the hot, English teacher. And every guy knows, like, oh yeah, what was the fallout from that? Well, I had a bruised hand from high-fiving everybody. It was so awesome. Yeah. Like the joke is in there, but there's also reality to that. Every fucking guy knows. It doesn't make it right.
No.
But the reality of the situation is boys and girls are a little different and feelings are different. Guys are groomed throughout society to crush as much puss as you can kind of attitude. For a lot of us, and if you grew up in the 90s, the 80s, this is common. This wasn't like, oh my God, you poor thing. You were violated by an older authority figure.
Yeah.
Where if you're talking about a young girl who has feelings for an older teacher, that strikes a lot of us as potentially a much more dangerous outcome with a girl's feelings. The abuse level there seems much worse. And that's why a lot of us are like, oh my God, he should be in fucking prison forever, targeting, a 15-year-old girl, a 14-year-old girl. So I don't know if those same rules apply when it comes to gay boys, where it's like, yeah, in theory, it sounds awful. 15-year-old boy and 30-year-old teacher. obviously illegal, obviously not morally good. I'm not saying in any way that, but is that just a reality? Because that's kind of what Milo Yiannopoulos was getting to, was that this is more normal than you would think. And that's just sort of the way it is. I don't know if that's true at all.
I don't think it's just the way it is. I think it's just the happenstance that confused kids are looking for some kind of adult guidance. The adults they are getting are not okay.
Yeah. Well, I imagine
it'd be like, and just part of me, like with the adults too, is why we kind of are okay with the female teacher, male student, but the male teacher is a little bit different. Is I think it comes down to a physical aspect of everything, where the average 16, 17-year-old could probably fight their female teacher.
Yeah.
So I think when it comes to males, there's more of like she was held down. There was she couldn't get away if she wanted to. There's a physical intimidation to the entire relationship.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I feel like that kind of goes to the boys too, because a male on male thing, that male teacher probably still has a physical imposing nature
about him
to a little gay kid,
Right. And obviously it's illegal in all situations, but I do think if you're trying to parse something out, there's a reality of life aspect to it. I think it's fair. Like, there's not a circumstance on earth where I would have felt comfortable talking to my mom or my dad. As accepting as they would have been, my parents would have been like, find the hottest guy you can and go for it.
Yeah.
They would have. There's not a fucking chance on earth I would have chosen to discuss relationships with my parents ever, under no circumstance. So this is not strictly like a gay kid thing, but I imagine it would be made even harder if you didn't have openly like, hey, whatever you are like, that wouldn't have been normal. It's going to become more normal as time goes on. And it's more like, it's not a national, like, coming out day is not like a thing really, because it's just society. And, there's going to be many gay individuals in your schools. It's not going to be weird. It's definitely true. You got lucky. You got a great mom, a great dad, very supportive. That wasn't the case when I would, like, there's plenty of people I know, their parents would have fucking tried to beat the gay out of them. Like, that's true.
Well, also, I didn't even tell my parents or anything, and I didn't even really explore it all until I was an adult. It was one of those things where, I dated in high school and stuff. I had my times and stuff, but as an adult is when I actually was trying to be more honest with myself and see what I wanted in a relationship. And that's when I was able to come home and tell my parents as a grown-ass adult, like, hey, here's what's going on.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense.
So I don't know how it would be as a kid, if I was trying to tell them when I was 14 or something like that, if I was having those feelings, because I never I just never discussed that with them.
That would be very hard.
Talk, and I was like, yep, all right. And then I moved on.
I think of it as it would be double the conversation, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's hard enough in those awkward years to have a conversation about something simple like
girls,
like
me liking a girl.
Yeah. Like, I like a girl and she doesn't like me back. And, that's a tough, conversation to have with your parents, for instance. Like, trying to, for boys especially, I can only speak to that, but that would be very hard. It would have been impossible for me, but very hard for most to express feelings of, I like this girl, she doesn't like me back. I feel like she's breaking my, I feel this way, and having a parent explain what a broken heart is and why you'll get over it. It's not the end of the world. Like, that's one difficult conversation. To throw in the aspect of like, and I think those feelings are for someone of the same sex, I think takes on a whole.
Isn't normal and could get your child in trouble with something,
Well, not even only that. It's like, oh my God, am I disappointing my parents because my dad always thought I'd bring home the fucking cheerleader, and he could brag to his friends about, my boys, he's got this hot girlfriend. Now, like, all of those things I would think would be honestly going on in a young kid's mind. Like, you're not only dealing with the awkward conversation of first loves and heartbreak, but also on top of that it's not something that's totally normal in society. Like, that, I think, would make it doubly hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's like an extra layer of like, not only am I scared, confused, and not sure where to go with this, I also might disappoint my parents.
Right. And in a way, like, not like I I failed a test, disappoint my parents.
In a way of like, I made a serious life choice.
Right. Or
might disappoint my parents.
I've crushed my parents. The fear being, whether that's based in reality or not, you would hope that all parents would, even if they disagreed, even if they were like, parents that disagree or, oh my God, that they would come to the realization, this is my child. I love my child no matter what. You would hope that everybody gets there, but
there's another layer to it. I know my parents make jokes like this, but they always say, I hope your brother has a fucking kid, because my parents want to be grandparents at some point. I can't do that for them.
Right.
Unless I adopt something, and then it's not really their grandkid.
Right.
So that's a whole other layer of carrying on a family name that a lot of dads care about. There's a whole layer of just having grandparents for your parents as they grow up, because that's kind of the life they were looking for.
Yeah. Well, going back to Tim Walz, I don't know what the reality of this story is. I have no idea. We have a real problem trying to figure out how we deal with containment of being able to slander people. And I hope people recognize the attitude that's being taken by Gregg Henson, by Garrett, by me, in not automatically jumping to the conclusion that someone made a claim, it must be true. Being very careful about that because of Brett Kavanaugh. We said it was bullshit then, and it wasn't about what political side. How is this going to be for my team? No, that was evil and wrong when it was done to Brett Kavanaugh, and it's potentially evil and wrong when it's done to Tim Walz. But if people are making these claims and they're going to put their name on it and they're going to come forward about it, that's a dangerous thought too. You can understand why that would be very hard for someone to come out and tell their story in a situation like this. I kind of think like Greg that it wouldn't matter to a lot of these people because I don't think the virtue signal is real. No. I don't think you really do care about these people like you pretend you do. I think it's all about wins, checking boxes, virtue signaling. We protect all women, believe all women. They're nonsense claims.
Exactly.
Right?
It's believe all women until that woman happens to be on your team. Then don't believe her.
Right. Exactly. And you see it. Team. Juanita Broderick is a good example. Had very credible claims about a handsy bullshit Joe Biden. But she's listed as goofy batshit. So yeah, you see it time and again where, it's the issue I have with the trans community. When you look at Chloe Cole to me is I don't think it shouldn't be lost on people. Like this person was so fucking in that they cut body parts off and have wholly regretted it and want to tell their story about how careful you need to be about dealing with teenagers in these life-altering decisions because it destroyed her life. And she's listed as an alt-right fucking mega MAGA lunatic now who takes on death threats. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible what's gone on with her.
Yep. No, I always think her voice should be just as valid as a trans person who's pro, It
100%.
should be just as valid.
100%. And if you're being honest, if you're operating in good faith, that would be true. It just would. But the fact that that you're talking about an individual who could not have gone further on board and then went, and had the exact issue that we all warned you would have when you're dealing with the teenage undeveloped, not fully developed mind and grasp of how the world works yet. It's an unfair battle, and you're going to potentially risk a lot of people's safety and livelihoods, Yep. So anyways, my bigger problem with Tim Walz, honestly, if this story's true, it's horrible. And, I guess we'll know in time. We'll know in time.
I just threw it right into the Astronom file. I don't know what's going on. We're not going to make any claims yet, but we'll keep eyes.
Yeah, and I think it's smart at this point to save those stories.
Yeah,
to keep an eye on those and see if there's anything here. And are people sometimes absolutely full of shit? Absolutely, they are. And so we don't know. But when that stuff starts floating around, I think it's fair to take a look at it. It wouldn't be the first time, and I would say hey, is it even possible? Do you, the people that want to write it off as like, yeah, okay, as if this guy would It's like, yeah, you said the same thing about Bill Cosby until you found out that he was the most prolific fucking rapist in human history.
Yeah.
You would have said the same thing. So no, it's not out of the bounds of possible that someone is, it behaves in a way that would go counter to whatever you're led to believe they are as people. We don't know. Yep. Not willing to close the door on it though, and honestly, if you said that about JD Vance, I'd look into it. It wouldn't. Tim Walz strikes me as fucking weird and kind of off on some level though. So it wouldn't be as shocking to me. Something like that was going on, but we'll see. I have an issue with him bullshitting. He was on Shannon Bream again. They're putting him on the safest slots you can go on Fox News.
Of course.
And do you have the video there?
Yeah.
Talking, and I'm glad that Shannon pressed him a little bit on his thoughts. I take serious issue. To me, the policy that ends all the debate is the First Amendment. And so let's get back. Yeah, go ahead. You can run it, Garrett.
Back to some things we didn't get to discuss last week. Let's talk about the issue of censorship and free speech. You've said there's no guarantee to free speech for misinformation or hate speech. But first of all, Supreme Court very clear in a unanimous 2017 decision that hate speech is protected. That's the kind of stuff that needs to be protected, stuff none of us like to hear. But more importantly, who gets to decide on the issue of what misinformation is?
Look, the First Amendment is foundational. It's something I spent my whole life, the vice president, and I think most Americans are clear on this. The point being on this, we're seeing censorship coming in the form of book bannings in different places. We're seeing it attempts in schools. The issue on this is the hate speech and the protected hate speech. Speech that's aimed at creating violence, speech that's aimed at threats to individuals. And that's what we're talking about in this. And the decision on that, society decides on a lot of this. The idea of someone going on and threatening someone's life or a child's life online, I don't think any of your viewers think that is something that should be acceptable.
Yeah. I mean, there's a distinction, you would say, though, between something like a threat and misinformation.
Oh, certainly. And that's what we're talking about. And I think the idea of making sure that folks understand, are good consumers of that, those are the decisions they make. But I've always defend your First Amendment rights, defend your right to disagree on every case. That robust discussion has to happen. And that's why I'm so opposed to book banning. That's why in Minnesota we banned the practice of book banning. Let you make the decision of what you're going to read, whether you find it objectionable or not. The difference is threats, that type of speech.
Okay. The distinction there.
Okay. That is such a bullshit answer, and that's not what he's talking about anyways. There are already laws on the books about that it's a crime to incite violence. It's a crime. You don't need more free speech protections. It's already a crime to threaten someone's life, to put out calls to action to incite violence. That's already recognized as illegal. When he talks about, if you go scroll down further in that story there, Garrett, they play the video of him. We can watch that again, of him talking about, you have no right to misinformation, free speech. I noticed them doing this a lot lately when they're talking about this. And when they're called on it, the stock answer is the bullshit one he just gave about, No. Obviously, there's protections for free speech. That's a cornerstone of the country. But, we're talking about, calls to violence and violence, blah, blah. Yeah. No, Tim, we already know. That's already well established in this country. Thank you for weighing in on this. We don't need any further weighing in.
Yep.
Do you want to play his clip there? Do you see the other one I'm talking about?
Yep, right here. Let me pull it up.
Hi, Cece.
Just before I ask you another question, I want to talk about what you just mentioned about misinformation. Because oftentimes before, in previous political chapters, disinformation, telling people where to vote the wrong way, that was these were considered shenanigans. But it's becoming more ominous. Can you talk a little bit about that and what you will do to ensure that there are penalties
he always looks
for
scared.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah, years ago, it was the little things, telling people to vote the day after the election. And, we kind of brushed them off. Now we know it's intimidation at the ballot box. It's undermining the idea that mail-in ballots aren't legal. I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy. Tell the truth where the voting places are, who can vote, who's able to be there. And watching some states continue.
When he's on the readout there on MSNBC, he's much clearer about his position. There's no protection to misinformation and hate speech. See the way they lump that together? Yeah. I've seen Obama and Hillary do similar things. John Kerry did similar things where they try to act like it's the same thing. Hate speech is the same thing as calls to violence. And it's like, no, one is wildly illegal already. And the other one you throw in there because who would want to support hate speech? Well, none of us would, except you're right to fucking do it.
It's kind of like Biden's banning of lynching. Like, we need to outlaw lynching. Like, murder isn't already illegal.
Right. Yeah. Murder's illegal, dude. Don't worry about it. And no one's been lynched in this country in 60 fucking years.
It's just a virtue signal. That's all it is.
Yes, but these dangerous people know that. I don't know if this dummy does, because Tim Walz is not very bright. That's the problem. Obama knows exactly what the fuck he's saying. That's the problem I have. He knows exactly. He's a constitutional guy. He knows exactly what the First Amendment says. And, I wish Shannon would push back even more. Like, why are you throwing in misinformation and hate speech when you're talking about that? And by the way, his take on the book banning is fucking bullshit too. These people want to ban books in the schools, as if that's an attack on the First Amendment. No, what the school library chooses to have for children is their call. There are no banned books. They're not banning Steve King's books in bookstores, and nobody's calling for that.
No,
do you see the difference?
If you want your kid to read those books, you can just go buy the book and
go buy the book. Go buy the book. Don't let him fool you. Don't let Tim Walz there fool you into thinking that's what they're doing in Florida is banning books. No, it's very specific. That we do not need these on the reading list for kindergartners through blah 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 grade schools. We don't need these fucking overly explicitly sexual books or Steve King's orgy books. Yeah. We don't want those for these kids. That's it. They're not banned. You could go buy them. And if you want your fucking 5-year-old to read Steve King's, orgies involving fucking preteen kids, knock yourself out. You can be that parent. Go buy the books. They're not banned. No one's calling for the banning of those books at all. So
I saw a funny bumper sticker coming home from work the other day that said, "I read banned books," and I almost wanted to pull over and see what their thoughts on Mein Kampf was.
Yeah, there you go. Sure.
I don't think they'd have some good thoughts.
Oh, you mean the one that Trump used to sleep at night with on his bedstand?
Yep, right underneath his nightstand. Right underneath his 2 Corinthians.
Yeah. It's just hilarious, man. Yep. By the way, the DOJ will go out on this story, do a couple emails. The Department of Justice has undertaken a slew of lawsuits against local police and fire departments, alleging that it's racist that to require hires entrusted with public safety to know basic math.
I saw this story. I love this one.
The lawsuits undermine Kamala's attempts to brand herself as this is a moderate in the final weeks here. That's why this is important. Of the presidential campaign, with the suits both suggesting a dim view of blacks by the administration and employing the theory that disparate impact, the radical theory that holds at any time there are statistical racial disparities, racism must be the cause, even if no one can explain how or why that is. On Friday, the Civil Rights Unit filed a lawsuit against South Bend, Indiana, saying South Bend uses a written exam that discriminates against black applicants and a physical fitness test that discriminates against female applicants. That was just one of the lawsuits, which claims that tests are racist because blacks fail them at a higher percentage than whites and require cash awards to be paid to those blacks who fail them. Most blacks generally pass the tests, and the lawsuits do not explain how the test can be racist against only some blacks. Blacks who pass the test are excluded from the financial payments. Last week, Durham, North Carolina settled with the DOJ, saying blacks failed the test required to become a firefighter more often. And employers should identify and eliminate practices that have a disparate impact based on race. The Durham Fire Department must pay $1 million to people who failed the test and hire up to 16 of them. While the DOJ said the tests were not relevant to actually being a good firefighter.
I think they are.
Yeah. So if you look at the online test, practice test, those suggest that it is sort of important that they know basic math, that people could die if such firefighters were hired. One question asked, and tell me if this seems relevant to fire. Right. Okay, Garrett. You're still white for this.
I will also say I've done a little bit of police and firefighter training. So
really? Okay. Yep. Did you are you able to pass the test?
I was able to pass the test.
Okay. Let's see here.
But I am white, so
if a building is 350 feet away, how many 60-foot hoses would be needed?
350 divided by 3. Give me 1 second on that. You need 6 hoses.
Yeah, if you would hope the black guy knew, they're like, Jerome, how many the building's 350 feet away, how many 60-foot hoses we need? You go, shit. That 6 times 6 be 336. I'm gonna say you're gonna need 6 of them to get 360 feet.
Yeah,
very good, very good. You could do basic math, which seems like it might be relevant in a situation like that.
Yeah, just
crazy.
On the fly, how many hoses do we need to get to the building?
Yeah.
I think it's relevant.
Seems fair enough. In May, the DOJ entered a similar settlement with Cobb County in Georgia. The county's use of these employment practices disproportionately removed qualified African Americans from consideration for a firefighter position. Complaint further alleges that the credit check and the use of written exam to rank applicants do not lawfully identify the best qualified candidates for the firefighter position. The DOJ forced Maryland State Police to pay $2.75 million to women who were banned from being officers because they couldn't pass physical fitness exams testing. For example, the ability to run quickly.
I thought it was the ability to draw your taser instead of your firearm.
Well, there's that mental one that you would hope they could pass too.
I see that one failed a lot.
This is just remarkable. Do you want no mental or physical test for these? This is unbelievable. If the DOJ wanted to file a lawsuit like that for someone working at like, name the establishment, a library, then you go, yeah, well, she couldn't pass the most basic of math tests or physical fitness tests. And the DOJ steps in and goes, hold on. Why does she have to be able to scale 10 flights of stairs in a certain amount of time to be a librarian? Fuck off.
Yeah.
And you go, you're discriminating against people you don't want to hire and using this as the guys. I'd have no problem with that. But this idea that female firefighters need to pass some sort of physical fitness test. I mean, I wouldn't pass the physical fitness test.
It's
for
a
firefighter.
Test. I get it.
Like that just seems logical to me. It seems like, yeah, asking a firefighter to do some basic math skills.
Like part of that physical test they're talking about is, because I've done some of this, is like you have to take a big 140-pound dummy made out of like cement and hinges and stuff. It's like a human body basically. And you have to get it over your shoulder and carry it across the room.
Yeah.
It took a lot of work, but I was able to do it at all of 130 pounds. So
yeah,
it takes some
seems
effort.
Important. It seems important, the test that the DOJ says is racist is designed to ensure that cops are at least smart enough as an elementary school student and can serve residents by, for example, adding up the total value of stolen property when items were stolen valued at $400, $40, $1,500, and $100. Could you add that up? That just seems, when police officers who don't meet basic standards are hired, they sometimes abuse members of the public, sometimes resulting in still more accusations of racism. Yeah, of course, the yin and the yang, the pendulum swing of that. Of course they would. let's see. If they're last year, the media pointed out to Memphis police allegedly repeatedly beating people as an example of police brutality. But it turned out that the police were all black and were all hired despite not meeting the usual standards required for the position. Oops.
They might need to be more mentally sound before they go in there.
After DC Police Mayor Marion Barry, famous for smoking crack on camera, made firehouses in the nation's capital a racial spoils program, firefighters repeatedly turned out to be gun-toting violent criminals. Public outrage over the hiring program culminated in 2014 after a 77-year-old man had a heart attack directly in front of a fire station and begged for help, but none of the firefighters came to his aid. His family successfully sued for $7 million. This is like, I mean, these AP courses are discriminatory against the mentally handicapped. That sounds like the level of argument you're making here. Like, yeah, I understand you'd like to be a firefighter. Well, guess what? You're going to have to sort of get in shape a little bit.
Yeah.
You know,
I think that's a very fair call. You're going to have to be able to pick somebody up who's dying. You're going to have to be able to carry them somewhere where they can get the help they need.
It doesn't seem like that far of a stretch to me that, or unreasonable to me that you would expect. Like, that makes perfect sense that cops would need to be able to do the most basic elementary level math, 1,500 plus 40 plus 100. Like, when you're talking about stolen goods and prices, when you're filling out for, like, you would think you would need to be able to do that. What was the total of stolen goods? Is this a felony? Is this a misdemeanor?
And I think I remember that question. The funniest thing is they probably got tripped up on the part B of that question, which is, what is the total without this item?
Yeah.
Where you just have to take your total and subtract one of the items.
Right. Yeah. It just seems reasonable. I think in the end, this just, I've said it before, but I think this hurts minorities across the board. If you see a black pilot or a black doctor now, it would be reasonable, right? It doesn't make you racist, but it would be reasonable for you to go, geez, I wonder if this guy got here on extreme talent and hard work or because someone had their hand on the scales.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't seem, it seems counter to what you're trying to get to as far as fairness, but people keep doing this. I don't know why. I don't know why we've gotten to this point where, literally half the country has got this virus in their head that thinks
it's a whole generation who wasn't told no.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but these kids were not smacked in the back of the head, and now life's telling them no, and they're like, well, we have to change the rules of life instead of just accepting the no and being better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's when you look at what's going on in a lot of these California schools, and it's probably happening in a lot of schools.
Yeah,
when you see the failing test scores of kids not being able to do, that 51% of all Baltimore kids from 8th grade down are absolutely failing any of the programs that are basic life you need. I'm not saying these kids need to be proficient in algebra, but you should be able to pass an elementary school math test.
Yeah.
You should be able to do basic, adding, subtracting, multiply numbers, understand the concepts. But we keep seeing time and time again that these test scores are failing. And then what do? I joke with it to Marshall because it goes right over his head. And he's like, yeah, I got an A- on this test. And I'm like, oh, what'd you get? Like a 40%?
Yeah.
Did you get a 40% and they gave you an A-? He's like, no, I had to get a blah, blah, blah. And I'm being a smart ass, but it's like, yeah, I don't know what that means that you got an A-. Does that mean you fucking barely passed?
Yeah.
Does that, because I know they're taking issue with giving kids D's when they get below a 60%. And people are like, well, a D now is really anything over 40%. You're like, okay, well, I don't know who that helps.
It might demoralize them.
Right.
I'm like,
right.
No, the kid's just a fuck up and needs some extra work.
Yeah. Maybe you need to demoralize them a little bit and say that this isn't acceptable. I'm sorry we've failed you. Yeah. I'm sorry your parents have failed you on some level, and I'm sorry the school system's failed you. I'm really sorry. let's try and do better. Cause it doesn't take much work to get a kid to understand the concepts of reading or understanding how to do the most basic of math. And I don't think that does society any good to shuffle those kids through and be like, yeah, he's our new firefighter. He's a total dipshit, but sure. Like that's crazy land we're living in. All right, let's get out of here for the day. Thank you, Garrett. Let's see. We'll do an email real quick, and then we'll call it a day. Back tomorrow. Maybe Henson will join us again. NFL Bob wrote in.
Oh,
son of dime sized and son of MILF. Fucking cocksucker. You got the better end of that one.
I mean, we're both taking shots. Come on.
Enjoyed the shows with Amy and Henson. Good stuff. Newberg shows are a little awkward, but love Chris anyways. Raj shows were. It's baseball season around here. A big swing and a miss. Woke Bay is pretty good for a fag. He's not much for sports, but he's in the Dabbleverse, so he's okay by me.
There's that DEI stuff, I'm good, but only as good as a DEI gay hire.
Yeah, exactly. New York Times economist Paul Krugman gave up this gem from the 90s. The internet will go by the way of the fax machine.
That is true. I remember that one.
Yeah. It's pretty good. I don't remember that one, but it wouldn't shock me. Your humble and obedient servant, NFL Bob. Good to hear from you, Bob. All right. We'll call it a day there. Actually, you know what? We'll do one more. Might as well. Okay. Drew's Beer from James. Apparently he went to, I guess, did they have an event?
There was a Griffin Claw event on a Saturday.
Yeah. So he sent me this fucking picture of Mark and Brandon and Bentley.
All right.
I don't know why people send this shit to me like I care. It's like, yeah, I know who they are.
We're
seen
like
them at events.
We're the other arm of the Drew and Mike show still.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Said all the libtard in the Al Sharpton suit needed was a crown, scepter, and throne to lord over his subjects. Brandon couldn't have been more gracious. So is that a shot at Mark?
I've heard that from a lot of people, and we talked to Mark too. He's just like, listen, I'm here. I do this show. I'm out of it. I just want to go home, do my thing.
You need to understand who Mark is. Mark is one of the, like, Mark and I historically were not great at those events. We'd have to be there, and like, we're kind of awkward people. Mark's kind of awkward. You go up and talk to Mark, he'll talk to you. He's great. Mark is great. Yeah. But Mark is not the guy bouncing around the room, kissing babies and shaking it. This is just not his personality. Yeah. It was never his personality. It can come off as smug or better than you. Trust me, he's not that. He's a very nice guy. Yeah. And you can all go up to him and he'll be very gracious. I promise you. He'll take pictures, he'll sign shit, he'll fight all of that stuff. He'll talk to you. But Mark is not like Big E. Big E is going to bounce around the room and look, you're here to see me. Look at me. Who wants a picture?
Yep.
He's great like that. Mark's not. So, and Brandon is in the middle. Brandon's great too. I liked Brandon when he was an intern. He's a fucking great kid. Brandon couldn't have been more gracious. Working the room like a true pro, giving everyone the time of day. It was like going to a TDC meet and greet where only Big E talked to everyone. Fuck you. Fuck you. It's exhausting for me at those events. I do walk around the room and talk to everybody.
I got you.
I make myself go around the room because I'm very grateful that people show up. Very. I spend too much time with people and then I don't get to everybody. That's the problem. Sorry, James. You need to go up and fucking get in the faces of these people and introduce yourself. Trust me. It's not easy for any of you, and it's not easy for a lot of times the members of the press in these situations.
I'll say that too.
Members of a show.
When I was at the Newberg show, it was like I was looking around like, I don't know who knows me, but I know they know my face. So I kind of waited for people and they all started flocking to me after a while. And I was like, okay, cool. Now I can see who's who and who's the fans.
And you know what? Part of the group will do that. There were probably a bunch of people there that were nervous about coming up and even saying hello to you.
Yep. I got a couple nods, hellos, I guess, passing. But then there were people who apprached me and were happy to take photos and stuff.
Yeah, totally. I would be the guy at that event. I would be the guy that walks by and kind of just goes, "Hey,
that's I know you.
I know you," and then walks by him and doesn't say anything. That would be me. If I was at a fan event for a show that I really liked, I wouldn't be the guy jumping in probably and striking up conversation. That's just my personality.
Yeah.
So, take it for what it's worth. But
yep. And for those Dabbleverse fans, I will be at the WATP show. I know they were already asking at the Newburgh show.
Yeah. I don't know what that is, but have fun.
It's some fun.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding. All right. Send your emails. Walters@DetroitCast.com. Tell me if Garrett was an absolute prick when you ran into him. I'd love to hear those stories that he ghosted you. He gay ghosted you. It'd be awesome. Whatever. Or anything else going on in the world, subjects we're talking about. We love hearing from you. Walters@DetroitCast.com. We'll do it again tomorrow. Hopefully